Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters English Breakfast. I always say that quickly, Danny, and you always chuckle to yourself. I know you do secretly.
I want to go breakfast.
Breakfast. I am your host, Kris, and as you will probably have guessed by now, Danny has made his return. Good evening, Danny.
Oh, hello, Kris. Hello, Ross. Very sorry about last week, but I had problems with the offspring.
Oh, it's fine. I would have to say, our other guest, good evening to you, Ross. We held the fort well, didn't we?
Yeah, I've never said so much in my entire life on a podcast, but there you go.
Well, I'm sure you said it with great gravitas.
Great gusto. No, it was good. It was good, and we did the poll last week, and we've decided to split the pods in two. And here we are on a Sunday night, or hopefully when you listen to this, a Monday morning, chatting stuff all English based. So, right, what have we got to talk about tonight then? Well, Ross has been given his very own segment, so you've got that to look forward to later on. But before we do that, we also have listener questions. And before we do any of that, we're going to talk about the FA Cup. And Danny's going to give us a little bit of insight into League One as well. So let's start with the FA Cup then, gentlemen. We'll start on Friday night. Ross, I'm going to come to you for this one. Derby and Manchester United. Now, this game was sort of seen as the Louis van Gaal kind of needs to win, really couldn't afford another defeat. It was pretty plain sailing in the end, wasn't it, from your point of view?
Yeah, it was quite comfortable. It was one of the few games I actually managed to get to watch this weekend. They didn't really seem to have to do a great deal to get past Derby, but Derby is still a good team. They still have to be good enough on the night. Couldn't really complain if you're a Man United fan. I think that's about as entertaining as they have been for a good 2 or 3 weeks now. So, good solid win. I think most Man United fans will be quite happy with that result.
Yeah, I agree. We'll come to the draw a bit later on as to who they've got. But do you think that Louis van Gaal will look at this as an opportunity to potentially win a trophy? I don't know whether that will it keep him his job? I mean, realistically, he's only there to the end of the season anyway, I think. So do you think this is a trophy that he's got to focus on trying to win now?
For the fans, I'd probably say yes. For Van Gaal, I think at this point he's probably just tired of the job. That's the impression I get from him. So I think he'd love to win the FA Cup just to hold up some of the journalists that have been questioning him recently. But I'm not sure he's going to be overly fussed if they don't win it personally.
No, that's as long as none of the journalists are fat, of course. Can't have that.
Yes, of course.
Danny, what did you see this game, or did you just catch the highlights?
I was watching it as we were having our usual Friday night Chinese Malaysian loveliness, because a few of them don't support football. Actually, Ren, who is Mr. Subaru, he's world famous. He said, if I was to support a new team, because it was me, Arsenal fan, Anna, Liverpool fan, and he said during dinner when we had the game on, he went, if I was to start supporting football, what team should I pick? And we both said Man City. He said, why Man City? When neither of you support them, I said, they have all of the money, so you're never going to do it. And if they get a decent manager, like Sepp goes there, football is over. Just put a close down sign on football and just give them everything. So we did watch the game. Ren wasn't overly impressed. I thought Martial had quite a decent game. They decided to play Rooney up front again, which is probably, it's hard to say what is his best position because playing him in the number 10 isn't that good personally. I mean, it was good to see Mata play in the number 10 because he is, for me, one of the best number 10s in the country. Whoever club has him and plays him in that position, if he's happy, he's going to do well. And he did. He scored a goal. Martial playing out wide, although he can play as a striker. He's playing out wide because he's got the pace. I mean, you're only playing Derby County, who are a fantastic championship team, but they've been on a bit of a wobble lately. And Rooney scored. And the Man United, they're through to the next round. Big relief for Mr. Van Gaal, who I have a bit of a soft spot for him, even though he's manager of Man United. I think he is under so much pressure from the fans. He hasn't got much of a better record than old Moyes he had. I think his record's worse than Moyes. But it's just the amount of pressure. I don't think people understand the amount of pressure it is to manage a club that have had so much success over the last 25, 30 years. It's nigh on impossible to get it all right. And even though he's chucked, best part of a couple of £100 million at it, I think some of it's down to the players. But yeah, it was an okay game as I was digging into my chicken balls.
Cool. And, there's a thought. There's an image.
It's very nice. It was Sinter in God Manchester. If anybody's there, tell them I said hello.
Well, I'm sure they'll be appreciated for that shout out. So, Manchester United through. That was the sort of the kick-off to the weekend. We then came into Saturday. The early kick-off, or the lunchtime kick-off, whichever you prefer, saw Colchester play Tottenham Hotspur. Ross, I was quite blunt in my views about this. I thought it was quite embarrassing, if I'm completely honest, and I totally sympathise with the fact that Colchester are a lower league. I know they're struggling. I know they lost two centre halves early, but the golfing class in this game was just. I mean, I don't know. How did you see it?
Well, for me, having seen a bit of Colchester in League One over the past couple of months, it wasn't a huge shock to me to see Spurs getting 4 goals against them and looking so comfortable when they did it. If you're a Colchester fan, you were looking for a bit more fight, I can only presume. But I think you've also got to admit they were quite unlucky with the defensive issues they had in the first half, which obviously didn't help matters. But yeah, there was a colossal golfing class. You could really tell who was Premier League and who was League One.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair to say. Do you think that, with regards to sort of what Spurs come up against, again, we'll touch on the draw later on, but this week we mentioned that they're probably one of the teams to watch as far as potentially winning this competition goes. Do you think it benefits sides playing at such a high level over the opposition, or do you think that sometimes the complacency that we've seen previously is what dumps teams out of this competition?
Well, there is a certain degree of that. I think it depends on how much the lower league sides bring to it as well. I've certainly seen this weekend alone that there's been some teams that have gone full strength, and I mean Nottingham Forest made 7 changes if I remember rightly. So it depends who brings what. But if you're going to play your first team Premier League side, or at least the majority of your first team Premier League side, you should be expecting to win most games against lower league opposition. And this was one of those typical FA Cup ties that comes out and you think, oh, maybe. And then you start watching it and you realise, well, actually, no. There was no way Colchester ever get anything out of this.
No, it really, really wasn't. And as we say, Spurs advance in that one. Danny, I'm going to come to you with Peterborough next. They played away at West Bromwich Albion. 2-2 draw. Peterborough, they wouldn't lie down. They
never do.
They really don't. Sada Berahino, which I want to speak to Ross about again in a minute, but he scored 2 goals. He put them 1 up West Brom, equalised by Colthurst, and then Berahino again late on. And then Taylor popped up with an 86-minute leveller. It showed real sort of guts from Peterborough to come back, having gone behind again so late on. Do you think they've got a decent shot when they bring West Brom back to London Road?
Yes, because hopefully Berahino will have buggered off to Newcastle. I mean, he's celebrating like he's just won the World Cup, when in fact he scored a couple of goals. The first one was a pretty good goal at the right-hand side of the box, just smashed it past the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper should have at least palmed it away. And the second one is on the other side of the box and just put it through a crowd and into the back of the net. He did all right. He's a half-decent player, but to say he's a one-season wonder is an understatement. He had a really good season last season. This season he's only got 3 goals. Obviously, he's not playing that many games. He's only coming on as sub and then been taken off. I think maybe that Pulis might have put him in to let him play because he knows he's going to score a couple of goals. Maybe put him in the shop window. But I think Peterborough were fantastic. That goal by Taylor, where it come from the far left-hand side of the pitch over to the right-hand side of the box, his mate chested it down. Taylor picked it up with 1 foot, turned round and almost volleyed it. Not quite as well as the kid did for Spurs in the Premier League at the last weekend. It was Ali, that's it, yeah, which was a stunning goal. But for somebody who's playing the 3rd tier of English football to get a goal like that when it's such an important goal in an important part of the game is fantastic. So I think they will have their work cut out for them when they do come to. No, I don't want Windows 10. Go away. What a time for it to ask me. Yeah, when they do come to London Road, Peterborough are really going to be up for this, and West Brom aren't the best travellers in the world, I suppose. They're not going to like it coming down there because it's a bit of a goal fest. Maybe it might go to penalties, but it certainly won't be 0-0 and then going to penalties. But Berahino, I don't rate him. He was on loan at Peterborough 3 or 4 years ago, did bugger all when he was on loan. And today I heard that Newcastle had a £20 million bid turned down for him when he's only got 18 months on his contract. That is sheer lunacy. Just take it. He's not worth more than 10, 11 million, and that's only because he's English. If he was a foreign player with that kind of goal record, playing in like League One or something like that, he'd go for 5 or 6 million quid.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. What did you make of the incident with the ball bursting and the manager? What did you make of that?
It was Wesley, wasn't it? Graham Wesley. Yeah. I'm never sure if he's the co-manager or joint coaches because Yeah, I think maybe.
I
I
think
don't
he's
know.
out on his own, isn't he? I
Is
think
he? Grant McCann's there as well, so I think maybe Grant, because they both come in at the same time, they're both ex-players. That was brilliant. Yeah, if people don't know, when the ball had such a kick in that the goalkeeper got it, and the innards had come out through one of the holes, and so he lobbed it, booted it over to the touchline, and it hit Wesley in the chest, and Wesley went over like an Argentinian forward doing a World Cup final. Actually, went over backwards, didn't he? He didn't dive and pirouette and do a triple roll.
No, he
It's
probably
funny.
sacked it, didn't he? Yeah,
I'm
it's a good bit
surprised
of humour.
if that had been Wenger or anyone like that, he'd have chested it, caught it, volleyed it back, and put it top right hand corner because they do. Well, actually, the one who would have done that would have been Pardew, who is we say Pardew in honour of our mate Gav, but it's Pardew. Yeah, because he likes to get the ball out. And there's a few other managers that like to do a little bit of that, isn't there?
There's a few that are quite. I imagine Kike Sanchez Flores would be quite decent with the ball at his feet. I would imagine.
Yeah, and maybe the Everton manager Martinez.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
he'd have trapped it. I remember him when he signed for Swansea when they were in Division 4 or the fourth tier. Oh,
and he was at Wigan as well, wasn't he? He's at Wigan as well. So
yeah, helped them get promotion.
Interesting. It was a good comedy moment. Do look that one up.
Yeah.
Ross, I want to just go back to Berahino. We mentioned him last week. When we were sort of talking about potential transfers, which we'll have a little chatter about later on. But I'm curious to know what move you think would be right for him. It does appear that after all this time, he's finally going to go, probably tomorrow or today. If some people are listening to this in the transfer window. Stoke and Newcastle seem to be the two clubs vying for his signature. Which club do you think would best suit him and why?
I'd probably have to say Newcastle because, judging by the players they've bought so far this window and some of the ones they bought in the summer window, it looks like they're setting themselves up for a more of a counter-attacking front line.
Aren't they getting Doumbia on loan as well? Another pacey striker.
That's the rumour.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly to me it looks like they're going to start going on a counter-attacking kind of tactic, and I think Berahino would fit into that a lot better. And Stoke, for all the nice football they're playing, I just don't think Berahino is going to add too much to that. I don't think he's the kind of player they should be after. But I still find it a little surreal that Stoke are even putting in 21 million for Berahino. I thought they were much more prudent than that, but that's another matter really.
Just shows how different people ask why is it such an upset Premier League this season. It's because teams like Stoke and Newcastle can afford to chuck the big money at players. Whereas before it would have been, he's only going to go to one of the top 4 or 5 teams. Now any team in the Premier League can afford almost any player on any wages.
Or was it the stat that Newcastle have outspent like the entire Bundesliga so far?
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely scary. It's just the amount of money that we've got, and of course, as teams are gambling, because any team that knows that if they stay in the Premier League at the end of the season, they get this massive windfall. They're
50
almost
million,
sort of,
isn't it?
yeah, and there's a lot of talk on Leicester are considering a move for Loic Remy because they know that if they buy him now, they'll get all the money back at the end of the season. So it's...
I think Boney might be up as well because now they've got the young bloke who we'll talk about later who scored the hat trick.
Yeah.
And plus you've got Aguero. That bloke is a perfect player. They only play with one striker, don't they, Man City? So with Aguero's number 1, with Iber Hachinino, however you say his name, is the number 2, no need for Boney. So maybe 15 million will get Boney.
Yeah. We'll definitely touch on some of those rumours ahead of the deadline. But let's come back to FA Cup. Shrewsbury Town, Russ. They entertained Sheffield Wednesday
That's a word for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which in probably what I can only describe as the only upset, I would suggest. Now, this was a bit of a seesaw game. Sheffield Wednesday were in front. McGugan and Akpro equalised. McGugan put Sheffield Wednesday 2-1 up with sort of 20-odd minutes or 15 minutes to go. And then Simon Walley got an equaliser. Or was it Sean Walley, I think it was. Got an equaliser late on. I think it was with 4 minutes to go. And then there was this bizarre incident where there was, for me, a clear foul. I was talking to one of our ex-interview guests, Natalie, about the Sheffield Wednesday game. She's a big Sheffield Wednesday fan. She was saying it was the most stonewall penalty you could ever see in your life, where I think it was Nahui was jumped all over. And then, wouldn't you know it, off went Shrewsbury up the other end of the pitch. In came the cross, and the winner was struck in deep into, I think, 7 minutes of stoppage time.
Yeah.
What did you make of this just bizarre end to this game?
I don't think it's the bizarrest ending to a game we've seen in the past 7 days, but it was still
true.
a very... it's a very FA Cup kind of finish, I think, to a tie that after about 90 minutes she looked at and said it was probably could still be the shock of the round even at a draw. So I still think Sheffield Wednesday will probably look at that game and think, how on earth did we even let 3 in, let alone lose that game? But I haven't seen the penalty incident, I have to admit that. But if that was in there at the end of the game, that's going to feel really, really painful for Sheffield Wednesday fans. From what I saw of that game, they didn't look like they deserved to lose that, especially in the 97th minute. But yeah, it's one of those moments in the FA Cup that it can throw up these kind of moments where 7 minutes of added time and a lower league side can pop up with a goal that they perhaps didn't deserve. But yeah, if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, I imagine that's a painful way to go out this year.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe Sheffield Wednesday don't give a damn because they're only 1 point outside of the playoffs to get a chance of playing in the Premier League? I'd be out of that cup as soon as look at it.
Yeah, this is the other argument. They are storming up that table at the moment, so I don't think the FA Cup
back for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm not sure the FA Cup was exactly a priority. Don't get me wrong, but I still think that would probably be painful to think you could go through the next round, get a bit more money out of it, and then to lose like that. That's bad way to go out.
Do you think that, whenever you're looking at it, that you look at the draw for the FA Cup and then you see that in the next round that Shrewsbury are away at... No, they're home to Man United. Does that mean that the Shrewsbury-Sheffield Wednesday tie would have been that same ball number, or do you reckon because it's Shrewsbury Town rather than Shrewsbury-Sheffield Wednesday, they would have got Man United? Because can you look at it that way, or is that ball preordained? That's a bit of a long thing, is it? Would that ball have been 27? Maybe it's 27 or whatever. If it had been both teams, or as it was Shrewsbury on their own, would it have been a different number? In other words, would it have Sheffield Wednesday could have had the chance of having Man United at the
at Hillsborough? I
Hillsborough.
don't. I think aren't they pre? I think they're the balls are judged on the fixtures of the draw of the round. I think I'm right in saying.
So they have the same ball all the way through.
No. I think it's drawn each round. So, because otherwise Arsenal would always be number one, wouldn't they? Or
I think that's the way it should be. It should be done in order of how far you've got. Like Arsenal number one, and then Villa would be number two.
Actually, it'd be AFC Bournemouth the one, wouldn't it? Thinking about it.
But
I
mean, whoever won it is number one, then number two is the team. Just to make it some, because I've got how many FA Cup draws have I seen in my life? Loads, and I've got no idea how the balls work or who is given. I always wonder why has this team been given that number?
Write in, people, if you know the answer.
If anybody knows, someone could do a blog on it. That'd be brilliant. I'd read it.
And if you're reading it, then crikey, well, that is an achievement.
I had a little look at your blog. I thought it's quite good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I managed to split the crayons out afterwards.
Did you?
Yep.
Move on.
Yeah, we should say that for those who haven't seen the penalty incident, what basically happens is Nihui, I believe is pronounced. He was kind of went up for a header, and the centre half from Shrewsbury is all over his back to the point where he essentially just takes a ride on his shoulders, and it's a really obvious, glaring penalty. And then they went down the other end and won it. And touching on what you said there, Ross, I think from what Nat was saying, the manager Carlos Carvajal was saying that after the game that yes, they're disappointed to go out, but they very much are focused on the league. So I think that answers your question. I think they're
definitely against Man United. They'll be well, I mean that's going to get them £500,000, isn't it?
Oh, it'd be brilliant for Shrewsbury. Absolutely, yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
So good for lower league. And the people who run the TV, put that bloody game on, and don't make it a Friday night. Make it a Saturday afternoon when all the fans can get to it. And put it on TV, because that's what the FA Cup is about the small teams making the monies.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Where are they? They are 20th in League One. They're just only 1 point above the relegation zone. So, good.
Yeah, there you go. And it will be the old stereotypical banana skin.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's have a look at. Let's talk about two South Coast sides. Russ, I'll spare you on this one because I'm sure it'd be painful. But Danny, Portsmouth 1, Bournemouth 2. Now Portsmouth were in front for a long period of this game, and then Bournemouth sort of hit back with two sort of later on
scrappy
goals.
rubbish goals.
Yeah, absolutely. But what do you make of this? I mean, Mark Pugh getting the winner with 7 minutes to go. Bournemouth, obviously, their priorities in the Premier League is the cup a distraction. I mean, we saw Portsmouth themselves go all the way all those years ago. Do you think a team like Bournemouth, the way they play football, the style they've got, do you think that maybe they'll look at this as an opportunity to go deeper in the FA Cup?
Definitely. A nice debut by Iturbe, who I was trying to say that Arsenal should have made a bid for, because he has got one hell of a future, and just coming to the Premier League. I mean, he was touted as the new Messi at one point, wasn't he?
He was a long time ago, but yeah.
Yeah, he's only in his 20s, isn't he?
He is. He's one of those that's
22. He's not
22
till the summer.
He's one of those he promised an awful lot at a very young age, got big moves, and then sort of flattered to deceive. But yeah, I mean, the talent's there, definitely.
Yeah. So good debut. He had an early shot blocked early on, which was which wasn't too good for him, but nice if he'd have scored. But yeah, but Portsmouth took it by the neck, gave it a squeeze, scored a goal, which I wasn't expecting him to score the goal. It's one of the few, because unlike like we were saying before the pod, both of us guys didn't record match of the day because it was called FA Cup match of the day, so I had to try and count. I only realised tonight that they weren't showing it, that I hadn't recorded it, and so I just when I watched it online, so I watched most of it. Yeah, good goal by Portsmouth, but I think there was wasn't in the press conference or after the game that Eddie Howe, before the game they were giving out the lineups for the games, and they went Eddie Howe said he isn't going to make as many changes as he did in the last round where he made 11. He only made 10.
There you go, just the one less this time.
Yeah, so he had our age-old plan. Have had loads of experience in the FA Cup, like Sylvain Distin, who for me has been a very, very good centre-back he was at Newcastle and Man City, and now he's doing a job for them as well, which is nice to see, because I know he's got to be about 50 by now. But yeah, it was a good game. I think Portsmouth can feel a little bit hard done by, because both of the goals, the first goal by Bournemouth, I say Portsmouth should feel hard done by. First goal by Bournemouth was an okay ball. It come in, and then I think someone headed it in from maybe a corner, not sure. But then the second one, Pugh jumped up, and I think he bumped into a Portsmouth player, and it kind of went in off of both of them. But Portsmouth have got more important things to be concerned about, because although they won the FA Cup in 2007 or 8 or 6, wasn't it?
2008.
There you go.
There you go. I knew if I said enough years, one of them would be right.
Yeah,
yeah, but
I live in this city now, so I can't get away from 2008. So.
Me hearties. So Portsmouth they're in the fourth tier of English football in League Two, and they're sixth. They're only a couple of points out of the automatic promotion places. And Portsmouth have done what I'd like to see done at many more clubs, where the fans own it and they're doing things properly now. And that's from a non-biased point of view, But for a fourth-tier team to get an attendance of best part of 19,000, and I think they had to restrict that, didn't they, because of the stadium? So
yeah, I think it's usually a bit of a tough one there, isn't it? Because there's a lot of standing areas in there, I think.
But it's brilliant. Yeah, quite an interesting game. But yeah, Portsmouth aren't going to be overly bothered. They've made a few quid. They've had a big crowd. Move on, aim for promotion. And Portsmouth, you can see coming back up through the leagues. And Portsmouth are definitely a championship team in that size team, maybe even get back to the Premier League, but I can't see them getting back to the Premier League too soon. But there again, we have a history in English football at the moment of teams being in the fourth division and then two shakes of a lamb's tail and they're in the Premier League. So who knows?
Yeah, so you just never know, and as you say, they're slowly rebuilding. But I've got to ask Ross, are you happy they're gone?
No, I'm not. I'm one of the non-angry Southampton fans when it comes to Pompey. For me, the rivalry stops on the day of the game, and for me, it's a real shame that Pompey are League Two. I have gone to see them a couple of times since I live in the city for uni.
Do they
I can't
still
honestly
have that
say
tip with a bell?
Yes, they do.
Portsmouth John, is it?
John Westwood, isn't it? I think his
I
name.
don't remember his name. I remember him because
he was at Highbury a couple of times, and I was shouting him, "Shut up!"
Yeah,
it's so annoying.
That's one thing I have to say is that no matter how much bad blood there is between Southampton and Pompey, I have to admit Pompey fans are so passionate. One of the most passionate fan bases I've ever seen. And just being sat in Fratton Park sometimes doing match reports for my my local radio down here, some of the stuff that gets shouted, like silly mistakes that just are inconsequential to the game, and Pompey fans are right on their back because they demand so much from their team. It's it's an extremely interesting place to be, Fratton Park, on a Saturday afternoon. And for me, I hope they come back up quickly. I would have loved to have drawn them in the cup personally, but these things happen. Hopefully we'll get them next year.
How are they getting on with Are they looking for a new ground, or are they going to redevelop Fratton Park?
I believe they're staying at Fratton Park. They've just put a Tesco's outside of it, which I do not agree with whatsoever. But yeah, it's a colossal 3-story Tesco's. They've stuck it in what used to be the Fratton Park car park. But yeah, I think they're sticking with Fratton Park at the moment. It's still a nice stadium. It's not my favourite place in the world, admittedly, but it's still a very nice stadium. Good atmosphere.
What's the story behind in FIFA? They've got the Portsmouth ground there. Didn't someone pass away that had something to do with it?
Yeah. One of the guys. I think it's a guy who worked with the team, wasn't it, or something? Worked in the development team.
Yeah, he's one of the designers or graphics. Yeah, he was certainly on the team for EA. He passed away, so they put Fratton Park in it.
Yeah, it's a fun ground to use. Have to be honest. It's quite atmospheric, as you say.
Yeah, I bought it and used it as well.
Yeah,
like an old-fashioned English ground.
Yeah, definitely.
It's certainly that. Yeah.
Good. From old-fashioned and from old-fashioned and kind of rustic, shall we say? Let's go to the Emirates. Ross, so to avoid Danny being biased, what did you make of Arsenal? I mean, safe passage through. Burnley, I thought on the day were quite impressive. In fairness, they came to play and they played some good stuff. But ultimately, despite making several changes, Arsenal are through. Do you suspect that a third FA Cup in 3 years is a possibility?
It's a very good possibility for Arsenal, I think. I still think Chelsea are going to be the favourites for this because they're out of everything else. And I think Arsenal will obviously take the Premier League over the FA Cup for a third year in a row if you're offered one or the other. But from what I saw of the game, it looked like a very efficient 2-1 win for Arsenal. And I think shout out has got to be given to Callum Chambers for one of the best goals I think I've ever seen a right back score.
Yeah,
It
well
was funny
said.
when you two come to me on Skype. I went, "Oh!" I was screaming. I'd only seen the goal again because when I was watching it on a stream, and they didn't have replays for. I don't know why they didn't have replays, and I hadn't seen the goal in any detail. And I thought, "What? No wonder everyone's going on about it. It's a thing of beauty."
Yeah, it's not just the technique; it's the fact he digs it out without any pace on the ball or
And
any
he
run
knew
up
where he was
to it.
putting it as well.
Yeah, he just digs it out from nowhere. It's a stunning goal. I didn't think he had that in him from what I saw of him at Southampton, but beautiful goal.
I'm not sure he knew he had it in him, to be honest, till he hit it. It was a hell of a goal,
We have
absolutely.
got half your team at Arsenal. Between Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man United, that's most of your team gone.
Yes, it is. Thank you for
There
reminding
again,
me.
you are all the rich, and you don't want Shaw back though, do you?
Not at the moment, no. But
No.
maybe when he's back from his injury,
When you
maybe
lose
we'll
about
talk.
6 stone.
Yeah.
Talk about rubbing it in there, Danny. You get a guest on, you just pillage his club. You've got to love that. We'll just rattle through the rest of Saturday's games, and we'll have a look at Sunday. So the other results: Reading beat Walsall 4-0. Nottingham Forest losing to a last-minute Odion Igalo goal for Watford. Crystal Palace safely through, beating Stoke 1-0. Will Zaha with the goal there. Blackburn 3-0 winners away at Oxford.
Just
Marshall, Watt, and Marshall again. Go
one
on,
thing about Blackburn is they'd agreed to sell their best striker
Jordan
in many,
Rhodes.
many years, Jordan Rhodes, to Middlesbrough for 11 million. So they didn't play him yesterday, did they?
You.
And then he said he's not signing for them. The deal's gone through, has collapsed.
Yes.
So luckily, if they'd have lost yesterday, maybe by the odd goal, as he didn't play, then they'd have been furious that it hasn't gone through. It couldn't agree personal terms.
I got a sneaky feeling that that'll end up getting done tomorrow. You know.
Yeah, to harken back to what we were saying last week, Chris, I think
Yeah.
for 9 million, Aston Villa should be looking at that now and going, wow,
Yep.
9 million for Jordan Rhodes. Whether we stay up or go down, that's a good signing. I think
Every club he's at, he
be,
does it.
Yeah, there's two. So there's him and Ross McCormack are the two to look at.
I think there could be a bit of a busy day for Blackburn tomorrow because I think now that people know his price, I think there's going to be a couple of interested parties.
Couldn't agree
Well, I
more.
would be surprised if the niggly point of it is Middlesbrough odds on to go up. Now he's going to be saying I want X amount, but if we go up, I want my wages to be increased, and I bet it's something along those lines.
Yeah, and it reeks of one of those. It could get done late, at the last minute and get pushed through. So we shall see. Again, we'll touch on that in a short while. But the only other game on the Saturday, only other games on the Saturday. Hull City with a Chuba Akpom hat trick. One of Danny's favourites, with Hull winning 3-1 away at Bury. Aston Villa losing at home as a surprise to Manchester City. And as Danny mentioned, Iheanacho, Kelly Iheanacho, I think his name is, he grabbed a hat trick.
Kelechi, I believe.
That's the one, Kelechi, good shout. He bagged his first hat trick, his first career hat trick, and Raheem Sterling getting the fourth as Man City very safely
By the
through.
looks of it, it won't be his last hat trick.
No, looks a talent.
Very, very good player.
Really
and he's
does.
only about 7?
Nine, I
8.
think. Yeah.
No, he's actually 19 years old. He's only
Yes.
just gone 19 in October, and he's left-footed.
Golden
So,
generation in
what a
Nigerian
player.
football, from what I can gather. But
Well,
yeah.
he is going to be the new legend. They're probably going to turn out in 10 years' time that he's 30 at the moment, like Nwangu Kanu. He had his 21st birthday this week.
Again, for the
Yeah.
8th time, yeah. God
Him
bless
and
him.
Okacha, twins, both 21.
And then the final game of the Saturday was Liverpool 0, West Ham 0. I don't think anyone has anything to say about this game because it was terrible.
They fell asleep into their soup.
Oh, goodness me. West Ham actually quite unlucky not to come out of that with a win, although in fairness Liverpool had their chances, but it was just a really poor game. So we'll say...
Why were people on Twitter putting pictures of a dog trying to catch a ball on its nose and the ball falls about 10 foot behind the dog?
I
saying,
believe that was Simon Mignolet, was it
that
not?
was it?
Yes, yeah. And it's the sort of image of a dog trying to catch a ball and getting nowhere near it and flapping at it in midair. And yeah,
But when I saw that, I thought, oh, West Ham are winning 6-0, but it was 0-0, so I don't get the relevance of it.
Mignolet was a bit flappy throughout the game.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, shock of all shocks. Right, let's have a look through Sunday then. So there was just the two games on the Sunday, and yet again, no shocks here, nothing to see here. But Danny Carlisle, they did an excellent job. In fairness, the community managed to get the pitch cleared, and they've had a surface relaid, and Roberto Martinez was very complimentary of the hospitality, and he didn't moan about the fact they were putting port cabins, whatever. Everton rocked up and very quickly killed the game off. Goal early on in I think it's the second minute. Yeah, from Kone. And two goals of Aaron Lennon and Ross Barkley with the 65th minute third. 3-0 Everton. Pretty straightforward, really, wasn't it?
I think the second one from Lennon, he shot from quite a way out. I think that should go down as an own goal because it come off the back of a defender, didn't it? He jumped up and...
That was Barkley's, wasn't it?
Was it? I knew it was one of the two goals. Yeah, Barkley's known from shooting from the middle. Lennon will be out wide, wouldn't he? What's Lennon doing in the middle? That's craziness, I hear you say. You're right, he wasn't. Yeah, so that goal, maybe, I know the rule is if no one would have touched the ball, would the ball have gone in the net from the shot that he took? Now, maybe it would have done, but it took a hell of a deflection to go past the goalkeeper, so it went past. Who was in goal for them? Mr. Gillespie, Mr. Mark, never heard of you. Anyway, yeah, so good for them, and a really important thing for them is an attendance of 17,000. Now, for Carlisle, that is going to be absolutely fantastic. What one hell of a payday. It wasn't on TV, was it? It was the Chelsea MK Dons on TV.
No, it's on BT as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, no one has BT because they rip everybody off.
True.
So, so they probably, what do they get, £250,000 TV money for that, hopefully?
Good
so
chunk,
they probably would have probably made £500,000, £750,000. That's enough for them. I mean, where are they in the league? They're 13th in League Two, which is the fourth tier. Not doing too bad. It's only a few points away from maybe the playoff position. But that kind of result, I mean, that attendance, that being on TV, that was enough money to secure them for the rest of this season and all of next season, and maybe even buy everybody a pasty at half time. So, yeah, well done, Carlisle. But Everton, yeah, you knew they were going to go there and win because Everton are a decent team.
Yeah,
unfair fight.
Yes, indeed. There were some reports of some racial abuse coming from one sections of the fans as well. I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the coming days.
What was this, 1970?
I know, it's a shame.
Maybe aimed at Kone because he scored the first goal.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. You
no
can
need
clearly
for that in English football.
You can clearly see the players sort of turn to the crowd as they celebrate. And I think both managers were spoke to by the referee, and it's not good. We don't want to see it, but still. And then the final game of the round, Ross, saw Chelsea go to MK Dons. There's a theme developing here, but once again, it was pretty straightforward for the big gun, shall we say. Hat trick for Oscar, first goal for Traore for Chelsea, and even a chap called Eden Hazard popped up. And
Who?
I know he's been hiding for about 8 months, but he turned up and he scored a penalty. I think it's fair to say he concentrated very hard when he put it away. You said yourself there, Ross. You backed Chelsea to potentially win this because it is their last hope of silverware. Well, it's not the last hope, but it realistically is. What did you make of them and in recent weeks? Do you think they are quote unquote back now under Hiddink?
I think they're going in the right direction at the very least. Fans seem to be back on side, players seem to be back on side. It certainly looks a lot slicker and nicer to watch. They didn't really have to get out of second gear with the MK Dons. There was so much room. The MK Dons were playing so openly. It was incredible. So they didn't really have to do much to win it. And as for Eden Hazard, I think we still know that it's no penalty, no party for Eden Hazard. He doesn't seem to score any other goal except from the spot. So it's nice to see him finally get one, but I don't think there'll be any more than 5 by the time the season's out.
No.
Did you watch the game?
Yeah, I watched it.
I flicked in and out and then went off and did some ironing.
As we were a woman's work and all that.
Yeah.
I was just watching as we were talking, and to say what kind of game this was, when Oscar runs the entire virtually length of the left-hand side of the pitch, cuts across FIFA style, runs all the way across the pitch the other way, stops, has a shot and puts it in, you're thinking, yeah, this is quite one-sided. I mean, lovely stadium MK Dons have got, and good luck to them, 28,000 people there, which is astounding for them. Old, what's his name, Peter Winkleman, is it? The chairman,
Yeah.
He's got to be delighted with that. I mean, that's one place that's not too far from me. It's only maybe an hour's drive because all the bloody roundabouts. But I'd like to go there and see a game. It's a hell of an atmosphere. And for Oscar to get a hat trick, and it was just like playing a game of FIFA, having pot shots from anywhere and it was going in. Must have been fun to watch if you're a Chelsea fan, but yeah, but I'm still not scared by Chelsea of that one. But yeah, like Ross was saying, Chelsea are undefeated now under the new manager. Yeah. And they're starting to put wins together, especially last week.
Yeah, let's not go there. Did any of you see the comments that Carl Robinson made after the game?
No, I
Oh,
haven't actually.
he was singing their praises, wasn't he?
Well, he was at first, and then he very quickly turned opposite. He started out by sort of saying that he was proud of the team's efforts and it was good to get this far, etc. And then it's really weird. It's just a complete switch of personalities. He went, "Yeah, I thought they did really well, but some of our players really let us down today. Really, really did. You know, they went hiding, and I'm gonna have a word with them about that." I thought, "Crikey, that's quite a risky tactic, you know, to say that some of your players froze on the big stage because they are very much in a relegation fight as far as the championship goes.
1 point clear.
Yeah, I just
I
wonder if
think
some of the
I
players
think
might
he's
look
got
on
to take
that.
responsibility as well, hasn't he? Because
Absolutely.
I watched the whole game. They were so open.
Oh
It
yeah,
was like they were playing against the championship side. Like they really thought they could go there and put three past them. He's got to take responsibility as well. I
yeah,
love Carl Robinson, but that's a
I agree.
strange thing to be saying.
Yeah, I think as you rightly say, you know, you've got to put your hand up and say, well, you set them up, so you've got to take that responsibility yourself. I agree. I agree. Interesting comments, though. Interesting. We should, of course, say or let our listeners know what the draw was, if indeed they haven't heard it by now. I'm sure everyone has heard it, but if you haven't, let's give you the draw if I can find it. As he frantically searches around for it. Why is the BBC website not make things easy?
Shrewsbury Town v Manchester United.
Oh, we've got that much, haven't we? Have you got
Yeah.
the draw in for?
Chelsea v Man City. You've got some nice there, Ross?
The one I know off the top of my head is, of course, the replication of every single FA Cup draw for the past 3 years,
I've
which
got
is
it. I've got it
Hull
in front
versus
of me.
Arsenal.
Yes. So in order of the way the balls come out the bag. So Chelsea host Manchester City in what is quote unquote the tie of the round. Reading face West Brom or Peterborough. Watford host Leeds. Shrewsbury Town, Manchester United. Blackburn versus Liverpool or West Ham. Tottenham versus Crystal Palace in the London Derby. Arsenal versus Hull, as Ross says, for the third time for 4 seasons.
In 10 games.
Indeed, and Bournemouth finally host Everton. So that is the draw. What do you think, guys? I mean, Chelsea, Man City, and Shrewsbury, Man United are the two stand out. Any others that particularly grab you, Danny?
Well, yeah, I mean the Arsenal Hull one. It's always good to play Hull for Arsenal because we beat them in the FA Cup final. Then in the very first third round in the next season, we beat them 2-0. They must be sick of the sight of us. And I'm just wondering whether Chupa Chupa Apcom and Isaac Hayden will be allowed to play. I know they're not if they're in the league, but whether it counts in the FA Cup, I've no idea. But I think the outstanding tie for that personally, because I'm a fan of the little teams, is Shrewsbury Town, Man United. That's going to get them an absolute fortune. It's lovely to see. Personally, I was hoping they'd come to Arsenal. We beat them 9-0. Man United, that is. No, Shrewsbury. Yeah, well, that's my pick of them. That really is what the FA Cup's about. Remind me to say about the Ian Wright today, the bloke who rang up, because that was disgraceful.
I will indeed. And of course, we all know, of course, that will be shown on Friday. We know it's going to be the Friday night game. You just know it. Any that grip you there, Ross? Any that sort of stand out?
Not particularly, no. I'm just looking at them now. It's very Premier League Championship heavy, isn't it? I mean, Shrewsbury Man United should be all right. Hopefully they get, like Danny was saying, hopefully they get a decent TV deal out of it, and that should be a nice payday for them. In terms of just footballing quality, I'd like to think Bournemouth Everton will be a good game, and Spurs Palace, but I'm not seeing many upsets there. I mean, Blackburn Liverpool, it wouldn't even be that entertaining. So,
It's good
no,
to
I
see
think
Chelsea Man City, one of the favourites, is going to be out.
Yeah, that's got to be a good thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And hopefully Adebayor will be fit for Palace to go and score a hat-trick against Spurs. He'll do his usual great 3 or 4 games and do rubbish for the rest of the time.
Disappear, yeah. I must admit, actually, that Bournemouth Everton's the one that out of all the games that I thought that might be
Two very
right.
footballing sides. Like to play the good game, the beautiful game.
It might be worth a look, but the rest of it is. I just get your views, actually. Ross, I'll come to you first. Do you think what's happened this year? I mean, FA Cup wise, there's a lot of people that say the magic has gone, yada yada yada. But this year, to me, it's really stood out as a year that all the favourites have won. There's been massive gulfs in class between the teams, as we mentioned earlier, and it just, I don't know whether something's just changed this year, whether the little teams just don't feel they can win. I mean, what do you think has changed, or has anything changed? Am I reading into it too much?
There might be a little bit of that because everyone loves to see the FA Cup come off, and everyone wants to see Oxford knock out Swansea and Shrewsbury knock out Man United. Everyone wants to see that every year, but it's not always doable. For smaller teams, it's not always doable to go to a big. I mean, especially the Premier League being as congested and close as it is now. Premier League squads are just so deep these days that you can rotate and still beat a small side by 3-0 and there's not a lot of competition in the tie like you might have thought when the balls came out. So, yeah, it does feel very flat this year. I've not been excited about the FA Cup this year, but yeah, it might just be that the teams, especially the top end of the Championship and everywhere in the Premier League, just the squads are getting so deep now that they just seem to outclass the lower ones.
Yeah,
Shows kind of why everyone is so desperate to get into the Premier League.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? It's
all the money you can. I mean, how many teams like Arsenal made loads of changes, like we said earlier. That Bournemouth made 10 changes, and I think Everton made quite a few. Spurs made quite a few, and they seem to stroll through.
Yeah, they did. Well, most of the big teams made changes, didn't they? So it's really strange.
Now, don't we have a look at each tie? I don't know if you were going to do this, and then see who we think is going to go through for the 8 games.
Yeah, we could do that. Do you want to mention this Ian Wright call first of all, and then we'll...
Yeah, I was listening to 5 Live earlier today with the wonderful, the absolute brilliantness that is Kelly Cates, who she should have her own show. I mean, she does the Football League show on Channel 75 or whatever it is, but yeah, she is better than most of the male pundits, and she is, I don't know why she doesn't get more stuff. And if people don't know, that's Kenny Dalglish's daughter, but she doesn't even play on her dad's name. She got married, so it's Kelly Cates, and she was on with Ian, the legend, right? And some bloke rang up, I think he might have been Northern, going, oh, the FA Cup's rubbish, it shouldn't be on, it's got no magic in it, we should just get rid of it, get teams out of the Premier League. And Ian Wright went to counter the argument. Ian, you need to be quiet while I'm talking. And Kelly went, well, there's no need to be rude. And the bloke just went up to make himself look like an absolute tool whilst trying to make a stupid point that the FA Cup shouldn't even be in existence. I thought, what a stupid thing to say. I love the FA Cup. I love, like my team Peterborough, they're having a hell of a run. Shrewsbury having a great run. Leeds, another massive team of yonder year, they're doing really well. And you're getting some decent ties, not necessarily decent games, but the third, we're into the 5th round now.
Yeah.
And we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Where is it? 4, maybe 5 teams out of the 8 ties are going to be non-Premier League teams. I mean, that's not bad, is it?
No, it's not a bad ratio, is it? When you look at it overall, I suppose it's just a shame, really, that how things have panned out. But and as you say,
I just noted a mistake.
Go on
Soccerway.com, they have got Reading v West Ham or Peterborough United. And then lower down, they've got Blackburn v Liverpool or West Ham United. Ooh, there's been an error.
Errors. And you, I think there's a call actually on 6 to 6 last night about a Man City fan, and he was saying that the FA Cup was dead and that his team should be focused on the Champions League. And it's a shame. Fletcher's
they're jumping up and down when they reach the League Cup final like they've won the World Cup.
Hang on, what right does a Man City fan have to say the FA Cup's dead?
Yeah. Agree.
After what they bloody do with money, doing their best to kill the game.
In fairness, they did have another City fan who rang up and said that City fan was talking BS. So
yeah, I think if you're a fan of a top 4 club and you say the FA Cup's not worth it, that's because you've got bigger fish to fry. For Southampton, it's still huge. For Newcastle, it's still huge, and for the teams in the Championship, for me, Wigan wouldn't change their day at the FA Cup final for anything. You know, they might be League One now, but you wouldn't trade that win for anything in the world, would you? So. And Pompey
winning it, yeah.
Still huge for an Arsenal fan, isn't it, Danny? I think we can speak from our guys. So
and not just because we've won it the most, but I love it. I mean, they should look back to the old days where about midday you'd have the St and Greavesy show, but it used to be from like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, following the bus down Wembley, and then watching the fans and interviewing it. And it's I would get up and I'd watch all of that. Like Sky Sports try and do a little bit, but it just annoys me. They should make more of a day out of it, because not just because of the older fans or fans of little teams, everybody should get into it. And it's not all about the Premier League or the Champions League. I'm just as excited. In fact, I'm more excited for an FA Cup game than I am for the vast majority of Champions League games.
I think it's just the way some fans are conditioned now. It is a shame, but no, hey ho, that's life. We'll go through the draw just quickly then and pick out our winners for the tie. So Chelsea, Man City.
That's about the only one I think is debatable.
Yeah, Ross, I'm guessing you're going to go with Chelsea. I'm going to stick with City.
Me too.
You're going to stick with City. So
yeah.
Do you want to stick with Chelsea on that one, Ross?
Yeah, I'm going to have to. I still think they're going to win it. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Chelsea.
Fair enough. Reading, West Brom or Peterborough. I'm going to go with Reading because I think Peterborough will beat West Brom and I think Reading will beat Peterborough. What do you guys think?
I think West Brom will probably beat Peterborough and then beat Reading. I don't want them to. I think Peterborough's going to, like I said earlier, going to give them a really hard time. But I think West Brom are probably going to get through to the 6th round, one way or another.
Fair enough. Ross, do you think the same?
Yeah, I think Reading will beat whoever comes through because West Brom seem to be liking the idea of rotating in the FA Cup so far, and Reading will really want to go for it. So yeah, Reading for me.
Yeah, same. Watford, Leeds, for me, it's got to be Watford in that one. I think Leeds are improving, but
Watford are on a bump at the moment, though, aren't they? They're dipping form.
it's a little bit, but I think they've got enough to beat Leeds, especially at home. You know, if that was at Ellen Road, I'd think a little bit tougher, but at home, you'd fancy what? I mean, I fancy Watford.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah, so I'll say Watford. Shrewsbury, Man United. Anyone going for the upset? I'm not. As much
You're
as
not
I'd
going to
love
put
to.
your usual pound on it.
I might put a pound on it, but
A pound each way.
yeah, I can't. I mean, the only way I can see this being an upset is United having a sending off or something like that. I just can't see.
Actually, I'm going to go and have a look at Man United's games on either side of this game. They have got 7 days. The Sunday before, they're at home away to Chelsea. And then that Saturday before that, they're away at Sunderland. And what am I looking at? That's the wrong. Oh no, Shrewsbury's there. No, it's the Champions League on the Thursday. They're away at FC Midtjylland of Denmark. Are they?
You mean Europa League, of course.
Europa League.
Let's not put them back in the Champions League.
That was a comical, unplanned error.
Indeed.
I would never have thought of doing that. Oh, yes, I've got the full list of fixtures here. Yeah, so that's in between the Champions League games against Midtjylland FC. They're
And
Danish,
having seen us play Midtjylland twice this season already, I can tell you that's a tough old game as well. They're in for a long old slog.
Soccerway have made another error. Thursday, the 18th of February, they are playing Midtjylland and Shrewsbury Town on the same night. So
that is achievement. I mean, that I suppose that is the X factor. They will have that game just 3 or 4 days. I suppose it depends on TV coverage. That will actually probably go in Shrewsbury's favour because they can't do it on the Friday night.
It looks like they're probably going to be playing. I mean, they seem to start the FA Cup. It says in the draw that it's going to be matches from the Thursday, the 18th of February onwards. So I would say that Man United aren't going to be playing. They're going to be playing that
Sunday.
on. They're not.
Sure,
Going to,
yeah,
they're not
time.
going to be playing on the Friday because they've got the Europa League on the Thursday, and then on the.
It'll be
then the next Thursday. It's going to be Saturday or Sunday.
I think it'll be the late Sunday game. That one. That seems
Actually,
logical.
as their next game after that is going to be in the Europa League on the Thursday, they might even have it as the Monday night game.
Possibly, yeah. Either way, I think that's the X factor. But having said all that, does anyone expect it? I still think United.
No, not a chance.
Yeah, so we're probably all
Sadly.
we're all in agreement that Man United comes through that one. Blackburn versus Liverpool or West Ham. This is a bit tough. I fancy West Ham actually. I'm going to say West Ham. I think they beat Liverpool, and I think they
Is it
beat
at
Blackburn.
West Ham the next game? It is, isn't it?
It's at Upton Park with the replay, and then it's at Ewood Park for the next game. So I'm going to say West Ham on that one.
And have Liverpool got Europa League games? They have, haven't they?
Yes, I think they have. But more importantly, I just think West Ham are good at home. They beat Liverpool, is it 3-0 in the league earlier on in the season? I just think they'll be good at home. What do you guys think?
Now they've got Payet back. Yeah, I agree with you. Then it depends on whether Blackburn get rid of Jordan Rhodes. If he stays, then I think they may have a chance because they're at home against probably West Ham. If he goes, then they're not going to have a goal threat, and then I'd see West Ham beating Liverpool and beating Blackburn.
So who are you going to go for?
West Ham.
West Ham. Ross, same?
The winner of the Premier League tie, I couldn't say at this point who's going to win. I'd probably go with West Ham if I had to pick one. But yeah, whoever wins the Premier League tie, yeah, will probably beat Blackburn.
Yeah, happy with that. Tottenham Palace, Crystal Palace away from home. It's at White Hart Lane. It's a London derby. Pains me to say it, but I can't look past Spurs for this one, sadly.
Yeah, same.
Danny?
It's going to be a hat-trick from Shamak, a hat-trick from Dwight Gale, and a hat-trick from Adebayor, all ex-Arsenal players, or realistically Spurs are going to beat them probably 2-0.
Yeah, sad times. I think the only chance Palace might have is if they can hit on the break and defend for their lives. But we shall see.
has a game of his life again.
Saying that, Adebayor going back to Spurs, point to prove. Strange things have happened, but
has he got time to get match fit before then, though? Because he's done
got
very little.
I mean, maybe.
Might have already gone ball with Palace by that point, though.
He might
moved on
back at Spurs by then. But,
on loan to Real Madrid.
Yeah. Well, we'll all say Spurs on that one then. Arsenal, Hull. I suppose Danny, you and I would go for Arsenal on that one. I mean,
there's virtually no one in that tie that I wouldn't favour us at home against, other than maybe Man City, Chelsea, and Spurs. That's the only three there that I think would be able to come to Arsenal and beat them.
Yeah, so we'll go for Arsenal. Ross, you same?
Yeah, I reckon it'll be another Burnley kind of game, 2-1. But yeah probably Arsenal.
I think a lot depends on the squad as well, who he's going to play.
Yeah, I
Because
think
we
that's
have got
fair.
Champions League games coming up on the Wednesday either side of that probably.
Excellent
If,
point.
if
Yeah.
any, the Man United game is anything to go by, and so we're going to be sore after losing to Barcelona 6-0 home and away. So
Think happy thoughts, people.
yeah,
Think
I'm not
happy
overly confident.
No, it amazed me. And then the final one, Bournemouth Everton.
Oh.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say Bournemouth are going to win this. Now, I don't know whether you guys would agree.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that it might not help Bournemouth in their quest to stay up, but I fancy them at home. You the same as me, Ross? You fancy them as well?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bournemouth. I think they'll probably have more to win from the Everton tie. So yeah, I'm going to go Bournemouth.
I really like Eddie Howe, I must admit. Danny, are you gonna go with Everton or are you gonna go Bournemouth?
I'm going to go Bournemouth. They recently played 28th of November and it finished 3-3.
Yes, it did,
And
didn't it?
that's when Bournemouth were still rebuilding after losing all of their best players. Everton don't have the best away record. Beat Carlisle, lost to Man City, drew with Chelsea, Man City, beat Newcastle, drew in Norwich, beat Middlesbrough, then they drew, lost. So they're not the greatest. And Bournemouth are an exciting team to watch at home. And yeah, good luck to them. I hope they win it and do well. But they're going to like Everton as well.
Yeah. Well, you can't like them all.
Yes. No, you can't.
I'm gonna right. So Ross, you're sticking with Chelsea to win it. Danny, who are you gonna pick to win it at this stage?
I'm going to say Arsenal, as long as we avoid being away at Spurs or Chelsea at all.
Okay, so lots of provisos there.
Because they'll bottle it against Chelsea like they always do. Chelsea could be down to 6 men, and it could be a snowstorm, and we'd still have no chance.
I'm gonna do a heart and head thing here. My heart says Arsenal, but my head, this is a bit weird. My head says West Ham. So
No chance at all. I'll give you 1,000 to 1.
I don't know. I just think.
Well, they have just signed international megastar Emenick. Let's not forget.
Indeed, yes, and it's almost like you planned that, Ross, because that
Is
is
he from Olympiacos?
Fenerbahce.
Yeah, because we played Arsenal played him, didn't we? And I had him down in our prediction league to score home and away first goal scorer, and he did nothing.
Yes, exactly. Well done, you. But it's almost like you planned that because before we go to listeners' questions and leave our listeners alone, I wanted just to touch on the window which, in Sky Sports terms, slams shut tomorrow. It's all very dramatic, isn't it? But what do we make of the transfer window? And any sort of teams? I mean, we'll keep it Premier League because we could go really deep into every league here. But what do you make of the window? Do you think it's been really quiet, hasn't it, as far as January goes for most sides? Do you expect a lot going on tomorrow, Danny? What do you reckon?
I think there will be on our Bergham Wonderland site. I do have a transfer windows page just for the Premier League teams, but I'm not going to give out the website. It's a secret. I don't want people going there and looking. Not updated it in a few days, but I'm being very impressed with the North East, the teams they've been bringing in. I think Arsenal definitely need to bring in. Oh, they say on loan, but Wenger very rarely loans people. I think we definitely need 1 or 2 more players. But we're going to get none, even though we're all organised. Joe Cole has left Villa. He's signed for Coventry on a permanent basis.
Yeah.
Just looking Chelsea. I've not updated this in a few days.
You've got Pato, haven't they?
Naismith to Norwich. That is going to be very good for Norwich. I think he's doing
Patrick
that.
Bamford.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've got him on loan for the rest of the season. Pato, I've been a big fan. I'm a Corinthians fan. Have been for 15, 20 years. Pato is a legend, fantastic AC Milan. I remember him being waiting for his 17th birthday before he could make his debut, and he played in a couple of friendlies and scored on his debut. It was brilliant, and then for some reason he fell apart. He's been around for so long, you'd think he's in his late 30s. He's not. He's only about 27, I think. I'm still waiting for Leicester to do their big buy because apparently everybody's saying that they're going to be buying a striker.
Looks like Remy, from what we can gather. Looks like.
Yes, Man City. I'm expecting them to buy everybody, whether they're for sale or not. Shelvey, I think, is a decent player. He's a very good. Would you class him as a number 10 or more of an attacking midfielder?
I suppose he's kind of a playmaker, isn't he?
He's got a shot on him, hasn't he?
Yeah, midfield playmaker, I guess.
And see Sunderland are copying Newcastle with their buying every single French player from the French league that they can get their hands on.
And English, of course. And English.
Yeah, and Norwich have bought, 5 or 6 players, whether they be on loan.
They've got Tim Closer from Wolfsburg as a good signing.
Matt Jarvis from West Ham, Naismith, Ivo Pinto from Croatia, and Ben Godfrey from York. My own team, Peterborough, have bought 6 or 7 players.
Yep.
Charlie Austin, which I think is the deal of the transfer window. Ross, do you agree?
Yeah, well, early stages, but yes, I think that's a very slow
100%
one.
goal record.
That's actually I have to ask Ross. So do you expect Saints to be busy in or out tomorrow? Do you think there's a lot going on? There's the Wanyama Mane has all gone very quiet again, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they'll Wanyama, I'm likely to see the back of in the summer. Mane will probably be around for at least another year. But yeah, we don't generally sell big name players in January unless a colossal bid comes in for them.
Hasn't Mane only have had one good game where
Well,
he ran at the speed of light and scored a hat trick?
yeah, there was that hat trick and there was one or two others, but 25 million is the price that's been quoted, and it's a joke at that for what he's done for us so far. But in terms of us, I don't think there'll be any incomings unless there's a particularly stunning deal to be had. But there could be one or two out. We lost Gaston. Well, I say we lost. We let Gaston Ramirez go to Middlesbrough this week.
Did you pay about 14 million for him? Uruguayan, isn't he?
Yep.
Yes, he is. I think the fee was around 12 million when we got him, and there was a lot of hype around him as being the next big thing. And clearly, he wasn't really cut out for the Premier League.
No.
So
Rodriguez, what's going on with him? Because he was very. Didn't you get him from Burnley or someone?
yes, he was our record signing at the time.
Wasn't he meant to be like a next future young England legend? Or I say legend again, I don't mean legend. Like someone who's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a fantastic season in the build-up to the World Cup. Then went to the World Cup, didn't do much. Came back to us the next season. Started well enough, and then did his knee in against Man City. He's been out for a year. He then got back, and then we lost him again to another injury. So he's still out at the moment. But yeah,
he's still young though, isn't he? He's still got time.
Oh yeah, he's got plenty of time, and frankly, he owes us for the amount of time that we've spent with him and trying to help him through his injuries. I think he's going to be with us for at least another 3 years. So there's plenty of time for him to pick up.
And are you glad to have Forster back? That is I think that's going to turn your season because you've been a bit stop and go, haven't you?
That's a huge, mammoth return for us in terms of injury returns. I mean, we've had clean sheets across the board since he's come back. Stekelenburg had a lot of critics down on the south coast.
On saying that.
Sticklebackberg. Trust me, the amount of times you have to go, oh, for Christ, Stecklenburg. What are you very quickly learn how to say his name.
I thought it was a Stickleback flavoured Battenberg at first, but
he might as well have been. He's not the best of goalkeepers. But yeah, Forster has been. I mean, he hasn't actually had to dive for anything yet, which it just tells you how well he's organised the defence since he's been back. But yeah, he's huge to have him back.
Do you reckon he's better than Joe Hart? Because I do.
He's
bigger, more of a presence, less chance of flapping.
At close range, I'd say he's better than Joe Hart. From long range, no, I'd say Joe Hart's the better shot stopper from further out. But yeah, from close range, he's a much better goalkeeper.
So we expect it to be busy. We do expect it to be busy. We've got a little announcement we'll make at the end of the pod with what we're going to cover. But I love the. It's rare that I love anything the Telegraph do, but they have described something brilliantly here, which I'm just going to read to you. Their headline in tomorrow's Telegraph, in the sports pages, is Transfer Deadline Day. Another orgy of misinformation and hysteria about to be screened on Sky Sports, which. I mean, that's the best tagline ever, isn't it? And it's so true. It's so true.
I was looking at News Now, and was I doing a show or podcast or so? I'm losing my mind. And it was saying, I was reading out the titles. It said, Arsenal close in on German winger. Next one, German winger to sign before transfer deadline day. And another one about Arsenal getting young German winger. It's just Serge Gnabry coming back because they cancelled the loan. That's all it was, and they're making it out like we're about to sign Goatsy or someone like that. Oh, they're just fools.
Yeah, and people believe it. They love a bit of clickbait, but
click, click, click.
We shall see. We shall see how it all pans out tomorrow. Right, Danny, before we do questions, do you want to just give us a very brief rundown of what's happening in League One at the moment? Obviously, you're following Peterborough, and we had a little request from Mr. John Welsh, fellow pod pundit. He said, "Let's have a bit about Danny's Peterborough." So, how are Peterborough going, and what's League One shaping up like at the moment?
Ligue 1, as the French like to call our third division. Burton Albion recently got Nigel Clough back as manager after being manager of Derby and not doing much, and then Sheffield United and then not doing much. Yeah, he's back there, top of the league. They lost at the weekend. Gillingham second place, they lost again. Lost also. They've both now lost 7 games this season. Quite surprising. You don't really, a bit like the top of the Championship where you've had Derby and Middlesbrough both losing on the same days. Not very often things like that happen. Walsall, they also they're playing this midweek away at Doncaster, which should be an okay win for Walsall because Doncaster are a bit rubbish. Wigan, who I thought would run away with that league, they're 5 points off the top of the league. They've played 1 game or 2 games more than the other teams. And did they? Oh yeah, they beat Port Vale 3-0, which is good for them. It won't be long before we can get back up into the Championship and maybe even the Premier League if they're lucky. Coventry City, who have been one hell of a surging run at the moment. I think they lost, which is good for Peterborough. Yeah, they lost 2-1 at home to...
And 1 in 4 now.
Yeah,
It's a
good.
strange little run they're on.
It's so hard in that league though, because you get a decent player, then he ends up getting stolen, or they got a lot of players on loan, and then those players go back home. Like Peterborough have just got 3 players on loan, and they bought a Shaquille bloke from Spurs, and yeah, so they're going to be making on. But Peterborough are now down in 8th place on 41 points. They're only 3 points outside of the promotion or the playoff positions, and they dropped down 1 position at the weekend. But they should be playing. When are they playing? I think not playing to the weekend now, but it's going to mess up there. They're away at Chesterfield, and Chesterfield are. Oh, where are they looking here? I forgot. Oh, they go 19th, so that will mean it'll be a 6-all draw. Yeah, but Peterborough have had some decent games recently. They've also had a couple of losses as well, which does worry me. They've not won in 5, but that does include one, the away draw at West Brom. Then they lost at home to Burton, which was not surprising. Burton are top of the league, and were doing well. And then they played second top of the league, Gillingham, and they lost 2-1 there. And Southend, they lost there. And the odd thing is, now that they've sold Connor Washington, I think we got about 2.7 million. There's a whole line of players at Peterborough's strikers that they've sold. I think that's why they play such attacking football, because then they get players like Britt Amasonga, and you get Dwight Gale. I'm sure it's Dwight Gale and Connor Washington. All those players, they score loads of goals, and the bigger teams go, oh look, they're scoring loads of goals. Let's go and buy their strikers. And what they don't realise is we're scoring loads, but letting loads in, because it's all out attacking football. But it works, because Peterborough have got a history of selling players to Premier League or Championship clubs for big money, unless it's Britt Asamoah to Forest, because we sold him and didn't get paid, which is why I think Forest had their transfer ban put on them. Yeah, but they've got all these players that they've bought in, and once they start to settle down and start scoring goals, they've got this Samuelson on loan from West Ham. He's a really good young player, and the Kubalay, I think he's Mane Kubalay. He's probably one of our best players. He's only 21. Got him from the Portuguese league. He's got 5 in 24. But we need someone now who's going to. I'm not going to say step up to the plate, because that's a baseball analogy and I don't like it. We need someone who's going to step up to the penalty spot and start banging in some goals, because it was mainly down to Connor Washington. But yeah, the players they brought in, that young Shaquille bloke from Spurs, he looks like he's going to be very good. And they've bought 2 players from, I think maybe. No, not Newport, that's who we got them from. I can't remember who they bought them from. They bought 2 players from the same non-league club, so it'll take a while for all them to settle in. But they did get a player who was a centre-back, and he on his debut, he scored a goal, but the bloke was only with us for a month or so, and now they've got rid of him again, which I thought was a little bit strange. But yeah, I think the FA Cup's been a distraction, not a too unwelcome distraction, because they've made money out of it, and Durham McAnthony will be happy. But League One, still an interesting league, lots of stuff going on, and if the middle teams can beat the top teams, then that always makes for an interesting league.
Yeah, no, absolutely well said, and we will be across all the leagues below the Premier League in the coming weeks, and I know we'll have a look at League 2 at some point, possibly next week as well. Right, before we get out of here this week, then let's go for some listener questions, because we've had a couple come through. I'm going to start with other follow pod member, Mr. Simon Collings. Good evening to you, Simon, or morning, whenever you're listening to this. He's got 2 questions, so I'm going to give one to each of you. Ross, I'm going to give you this one. He says, given his performance today, is Ruben Loftus-Cheek worthy of a spot in the Chelsea first 11?
Oh, I'd say no, simply because Chelsea have such good centre midfielders. But does he deserve more time in the first team? Absolutely. I think he's a good young player. He deserves more substitute appearances at least. And if they're going to go on a run in the FA Cup, he deserves a run in that as well, just to show what he can do. He's probably not good enough to shrug Fabregas or Mikhail out the side at the moment. But yeah, I think he's got a big future. Unfortunately, he's probably going to go the way of Patrick Bamford and go out on loan and go to somewhere like Newcastle on the cheap. But yeah, I like him, but probably not for the first team just yet.
No, the one good thing he's got on his side, of course, Ramirez moving to China. That frees up a spot maybe in their midfield, hopefully, but we shall see. Danny, the other question Simon had was a man I know that you're a big fan of, John Terry. He said with Terry's announcement tonight, and at time of recording this was announced this evening, that he has decided that he will be leaving Chelsea at the end of the season. He hasn't said what he's going to do yet for
MLS.
I think it probably will be.
Maybe join Ashley Cole at LA Galaxy, or La Galaxy as the French like to call them.
La Galaxy. Simon just simply wants to know, are Chelsea right to let him go?
He is the Tony Adams, the Gary Mabbott, I'm trying to think of another equivalent, the Jamie Carragher of that club. Personally, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would not want him to go anywhere. He has massive sway in the dressing room, as Jose Mourinho found out when he dropped him. He made a little protest by coming out. Was it coming out at half time to warm up, or at the end of the game to try and make a point that he hadn't been played? Comes back into the team start doing well, and I think he's a massive force at the club. So, and I know him and Abramovich. Well, I don't know anything. I've read that him and Abramovich they get on quite well, and he maybe listens to him. Has he had a say in managers in the past, or is that just
I think it's
papers making it up?
Bit of a sound, but I think they have discussions, don't they? Because you say he's got a big say in things.
If I was a Chelsea fan, no, I wouldn't want him to leave. I'd want him to stay at the club for his entire life. He's been at Chelsea his entire life, but did have a loan spell at Swansea when he started his career, and he nearly signed for Arsenal at one point when many years ago, before Abramovich said, "Here, have all my rubles." No, Chelsea fan wouldn't want him to leave. As an Arsenal fan, I'm glad he's gone. Don't like him, don't like anything about him, but you've got to admire what he's done in football.
Yeah, fair points. Next question, Gregor Lesniak. He wanted to know our thoughts on the FA Cup draw, which of course we've given, but his other question here, I'm going to give it to Ross in the sense of not being biased again. He wants to know, should Arsenal sign another central midfielder or keep Gnabry now that Rosicky is potentially injured again?
There's no G in Gnabry.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it, that
yeah.
name?
Gnabry.
If your options are Serge Gnabry or new midfielder, I'd say new midfielder, because I don't think Gnabry is ready for the Arsenal first team. But certainly, I'm a proponent of Arsenal bringing through some of the younger players. I'd much sooner have Gideon Zelalem come back to Arsenal and start moving up the first team. I'd rather have him personally.
That doesn't make sense to you, does it, Russ?
No. I thought Gnabry was a winger anyway.
He is. Right winger. Yeah, he's more of a white man.
Yeah, well,
I shall send you a link after the show, Ross, to the Gideon Zelalem. No, that our mate made for us, and then you'll get it. Why? Whenever anyone says Zelalem, someone has to go.
Like
I look forward to it then.
It is genuinely brilliant. But unless you're an Arsenal fan or you listen to our pod, the ABW pod, then it's you think to shut up and don't interrupt me.
Carry on, Russ.
But yeah, I think I've made my point. Gideon, I'm going to say Gideon now. I'd sooner have him in the first team than Gnabry. I've just always thought Gnabry was a winger, and you don't really need another winger at the moment. So yeah, if your options are just either Serge Gnabry or someone new, then yeah, probably someone new. But
yeah, I'm with you on that one. Definitely with you on that. I don't think we'll be getting anybody, but that would be my choice as well.
No, unless there's a big name that randomly goes on the market, Arsenal don't generally move on deadline day. So.
No, exactly.
Who asked that question? I saw him tweet it earlier. I can't remember. Is it Gregor?
Gregor Lesniak, yes.
Gregor, are you listening? Send that to the ABW pod, and I'll ask it in this Thursday's podcast. That's a really good question.
There we go.
And I could wax lyrical for about 5 minutes about that.
Well, it'll be out of date by then because the transfer will be shut, of course. But you can talk about it for the summer, maybe. So. Yeah. Anyway,
my thoughts on Gnabry, whether he should start.
Okay. Oh, right.
Gnabry over Zelalem.
Okay. No. Fair enough. There you go. Then you've had your request, Gregor. Janzab Shaheen, friend of the pod, he wants to know: I'll give this one to you, Danny. Why has Gareth Barry not been given the praise he deserves? Should start at the Euros, in my opinion. Now that's quite a left field idea, but what do you reckon to big Gareth Barry?
Because he is much like James Milner. And much like Gary Speed, and much like these other players, just get on in midfield, do the job they're given, and don't go poncing around thinking they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think was it Gareth Barry or someone in midweek? Someone was having a go at him because he said he'd never been drunk, and Twitter was having a go. Someone of no, it wasn't. It was James Milner.
It was Milner.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what Gareth Barry's done. Didn't he start his career at Leeds?
Villa. Wasn't it Villa?
I thought, oh yeah, maybe.
He made his name at Villa, didn't he? But,
yeah, I thought maybe he would have been at Leeds as a kid anyway. Yes, he did. He was staying at Villa for years, and he's gone to Man City, and he won the title at Man City twice, maybe. And then he's gone to Villa, Everton. He's been there for 3 years, and I'm just looking now. He's played most of the games for all those 3 years, and he's just someone you can rely on in midfield. He's like a Mikel Arteta when he was playing for Arsenal when he was doing his job, just there kicking the ball, defending, passing it around, doing it, but not making a big deal about it. But should he start for England? No. The bloke's 35 in a few days. and at 35. Did they say they want him to start for the Euros this coming Euros?
Yeah, I guess. Certainly
no.
won't be the next one, I don't think. No.
Yeah, when he's 39.
He'll be about 105 by then, bless him.
No, I think he's just one of those players where they just do the job. They get on and do it, and you don't hear a lot about them. And I think there's not enough players that do that. They're not always out with some supermodel or getting drunk or driving a bleeding Marmite-covered Ferrari to try and get the attention. No, he does his job. He's done it for every club he's been at, and he's a decent pro. But no, he shouldn't be playing for England in that holding role.
I'm kind of with you on that one. But a good question, nevertheless. Another one for you then, Ross. This is from Bren Kane _U_dig_it or dig_it. Hard to deny Tottenham is a title contender. Bias aside, will they keep up? Will they keep up their? I think what he's meant to say is, will they keep up their form towards the end of the season? So, do you think Spurs are a genuine title contender?
Yes, I do. Whether or not they'll keep up their form, as a Southampton fan that watched Pochettino with us for 2 years, this is generally the time when the teams start to slow down.
Woo-hoo.
Because I remember Jack Cork once said that to play for Pochettino, you have to have two hearts. And generally the second one gives out around now because they just keep running and they keep pressing. And they've got a very good team there, and I really do like Tottenham at the moment. But, yeah, this is kind of do or die for Tottenham at the moment. They've got to fight through some of the tiredness they inevitably going to be feeling, and I think they'll also have one eye on the FA Cup as well, so they'll probably feel like they can win that. So I would like to say yes, but knowing Pochettino and his style of football as I do, I would like to think there will be a bit of tiredness creeping in, and you will see them slowly start to potter away.
Yeah.
Like, has he got to touch the Klopp's run till you die?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And of course, if they can't, they are a squad that somebody was describing the other day. I completely disagree. They're saying that they've now got strength to death. I still don't think. I think
one striker,
2 or 3 injuries, and they are. I mean, they've already lost for Tonga, haven't they, for a few weeks now? And I think if they lose that man up front, whose name will go missed. But yeah, I mean, if they lose him, or if they lose one of the key midfield components or another centre back, they've got players in depth, but I'm not sure they're of the same level. So
much like many teams, they're midfield strong, striker short. Like Arsenal, Giroud gets injured, they're knackered.
At time of recording, of course, they might be after somebody tomorrow. We never know. But
and if the Elephant Man gets injured, then Heung-min Son has been. Do you say Son Heung-min, or do you say their
Son Heung-min or Min Young-suk, whichever you pronounce it?
I think you say their surname first.
He's got Son on his shirt, I know that much.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go, I've got it wrong. Yeah, I think I was listening to the radio the other day and they said he's more of a midfielder than a striker.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't think he'd be able to cope with the Premier League forwards.
Got Clinton and G as well, haven't they?
Yeah, Clinton and G is, having seen him a lot at Lyon, he's very hit and miss. Yeah, you think Mane's bad. I mean, he's the one thing he is pace, but he's not. He's nowhere near. He's not a guy you could put into the team and go, well, we know we'll get 5 or 6 goals out of 10 appearances. He's just not anywhere near that level. So I think he's
a midfielder though.
No, he's kind of a wide forward. Think of sort of a Theo Walcott-esque. So he thinks he's a centre forward, but he's better on the wing.
I'm sure they've got some midfielders like Lamela that you could see pushing further up and getting some goals.
Yeah, no, I think they've got options, but you know, they as you say, they rely on Kane and they rely on Ali and the centre back partnership. And if you fracture 2 of those branches, we shall see. But Ali,
what a future he's got ahead of him.
Yeah, me and Ross are not on the bandwagon yet. We discussed last week. No, we're reserving judgment. We want to see him
to get stuck in, which I think is always a good sign of a player. It's when they try and get away from all that and they just want to do the fancy stuff. That's when you think, they won't last. But...
He's made a good start, but we want to see it over a period of time rather than just 6.
But the hype is going to get him. The hype is going to gobble him up.
Yep. Sadly.
He's not careful.
He's English. Final question. Will O'Brien, he's at the Royal Gooner, of the Premier League, or I think he means is, hang on, no, let's try again. I'll read it properly.
I do this every week. I have to proofread and add the bits
Stop
in
again.
because Twitter doesn't allow you to express yourself properly in 140 characters.
Really doesn't. Is the competitiveness of the Premier League causing problems for English clubs in Europe? So it's a bit sidebar from FA Cup, but what do you think of that, Danny? Do you think that's fair?
Definitely, yeah. You think that Arsenal went and played in the Champions League and they took it for granted and got their asses whooped in the first 2 games, lost 2 away games that they should, or not the first 2 games, the away games at Olympiacos and who was the other one? Croatian
Croatia,
people,
Zagreb.
Yeah, and those two teams, they're barely championship teams, and they both beat us. And you've seen that Man United have been knocked out of it early already, and Man City did their usual flatter to deceive in there. I sometimes wonder if a team like Leicester got into the Champions League, would they do well? And I think they would, because they're more about the whole team working together, not relying on just one or two players. I mean, I know that Mahrez and Vardy and the little bloke in midfield from Caen, whose name I always...
Kante.
Yeah, oh, there you go. It's got a K in it, and then Drinkwater and Schmeichel. They've got so many decent players that all work together as a unit. But yeah, I do think that there's just so many games we play in the Premiership. I do think there is an argument to be had that lower it to 18 teams. Premier League teams don't have to go in the League Cup because it's just massive fixture congestion. I know other countries do have their cup, but they don't play. They don't hardly any of them take it seriously. But there are a lot of games, and the further you get into it, like Arsenal are now going to get fixture congestion because we've got the FA Cup, the Premier League, and we've got the Champions League all coming up quickly now, and that's when you really need to have a fit, strong, in-depth squad, which I think a lot of teams don't have.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
there's a world shortage of strikers as well. There's so few decent world-class strikers that are going to get you 25, 30 a season.
And of course,
well, they're all at Barcelona or Real Madrid.
And it's, of course, the age-old debate about certain teams in the leagues, i.e. Bayern Munich, PSG, are their leagues too easy so that they lose competitive streak in Europe? But, yeah, it's one for discussion, definitely. It's a good question. We may well touch on that at a later date in a future pod. So, super stuff. Okay, right, well, I think that will bring us to a close for this week then, gentlemen. As usual, do send us your feedback, or if you've got things you want to request.
You've got your announcements.
I'm going to do that, yeah, but I've got another thing first.
Oh, two? It's like Christmas.
I know. Before we leave everybody, we've decided, I said before at the start of the pod, I've given Ross his own segment, and it's going to be called Ross's Boss and Ross's Dross. And
how happy is Ross with this title? Not very.
It came up very, very late. So
executive decision, I think, on
thank
your
me for that one.
behalf.
Basically, it's Ross's kind of stand-up performer of the week, and the player who's just been pretty awful. So, Ross, over to you.
I'm going to start with my dross because I think you'll both agree with me on my dross. Having watched the Chelsea game today, I have to say Diego Costa is my dross of the week. I'm a big fan of Costa as someone that doesn't have to deal with him and gets to just watch him from a distance. I'm a fan of Costa, but he missed two absolute sitters today. Like, one was an open goal, one was one he just shouldn't have been missing. When you're Diego Costa and you're starting against MK Dons in the FA Cup, you should be scoring, and to not score either of those at the very least, and then to be subbed off after about 55, 60 minutes, I think that's a really poor game from Diego Costa. So he's my dross of the week.
Well, he was tired from all that diving against Arsenal.
I knew that was coming. Yeah, had to throw that in. I agree. Yeah,
threw a couple of hands around in the penalty box as well today. So up to his old tricks. My boss of the week was actually a bit trickier because we were discussing before the pod, and even on the pod, we've been mentioning Iheanacho, who scored his first hat-trick. Akpom scored his first hat-trick as well. I think that's a huge moment for him. Oscar also got a hat-trick. So it was a three-way tie until I realised that the young goalkeeper that played for Portsmouth this weekend has only played one professional game before the FA Cup today, which was against Oxford for Portsmouth last weekend, in which he saved a penalty and then saved the rebound. He then started his first FA Cup game on the weekend against Bournemouth. He may have let two in, but he made three fantastic saves in that game as well. And at 19 years old, only two professional games. I have to say, Ryan Fulton is my boss of the week this week.
Ideal. I like it. I like it outside the box, not the people you think about. So I like that. Good. And it'll be another one that somebody can, or our listeners can follow along and see how his career progresses. So I like that. Good. Super. Okay. Well, you'll be back with more, of course, on that. And as we close off today, Danny's right, we do have an announcement. I should say, if you haven't already, do go onto our website or the YouTube site or iTunes, and you can listen to another interview, which we've got up, which myself and Drew conducted with a lady by the name of Yael Averbush, who is a US women's national team representative. She plays over in America. She's also played in Sweden and Russia, and briefly represented Arsenal as well. Arsenal ladies.
I was going to say, because the picture you tweeted was her in an Arsenal
kit,
and then you're saying that she was playing in America, so I wasn't sure.
She went as a guest of Arsenal to play.
Did they offer her a contract and she turned it down?
She did indeed. Yeah, she goes into more detail in the interview, so you have to listen to hear what she has to say.
I will be.
she was indeed offered a place to represent Arsenal overseas, and she went over to Korea and represented us. So yes,
Because
very
the
very good.
Ladies American League has collapsed for about the third time.
Yes, she covers that in depth as well.
Oh,
It's
definitely going to listen.
really really good interview.
Did she talk about the Ladies World Cup as well? Because I watched most of that and it was brilliant.
Yep. We went in depth on all different things. I even asked her which boots she preferred. So
Look at you, getting all FIFA on her.
I know. So do give that a listen. And myself and Drew did that yesterday. So that
is she in FIFA?
I don't know. I didn't actually ask her that.
What?
I don't think so because she hasn't played for the women's national team for a little while now. So a little bit controversially as well. So
that makes it even more worth a listen.
There you go. But yes, as Danny said, we do have a quick announcement to make, which is that we're going to do a little extra pod next week. We have got a full programme of Premier League and a few Championship and a few other games in midweek as well to cover. So myself, Danny and Ross will return to your earwaves on Wednesday evening, stroke Thursday morning, whichever time you download it. And as an extra bonus, we are also going to have, as well as the pod that will go up tomorrow, or Tuesday as it will be, we're going to have Tom, John and Drew join Ross and Danny. It's going to be a massive cluster. As the second part of our Wednesday breakfast, we're going to talk about the transfer deadline day that is closing on Monday. So all the deals that went through, we're just going to have a little natter about who we think is going to be a hit, who we think is going to be a miss, and our general thoughts on what teams have done good business. So
and all the players Arsenal didn't sign.
Yes, indeed. So
forever if we did that.
Oh, we really
and then
would.
crying as we realised half of our team got injured on Tuesday.
Oh, happy day. So just to recap, so Wednesday night we shall be recording around about 10 o'clock at night. We'll myself, Danny and Ross will break down the midweek games, and then the second part of the podcast we'll invite the other crew, the other hipsters onto the pod, and we'll talk transfers. So there you go. So if you've got any questions for us, or if you've got things you want to bring up, shoot them across to us at the FH Pod. At the FH Podcast, I should say. And indeed our website, have a look at our website and have a look at all the lovely things that have gone up there.
You spent ages.
I did. I actually did. And the podcast will be recorded as normal. Tomorrow our Hipsters' choice is Alexander Meyer. I'm very much looking forward to talking about him. And there'll be the usual team of the week and your trip across the big four leagues in Europe. So there we go.
You should also say there could be fireworks in midweek because it is, of course, Arsenal versus Southampton.
Yes, indeed. That's a very good point, Ross. Yes.
Should we do predictions now?
Do
you do predictions?
we don't, but it would only come to blows.
No, I agree with Ross. It's going to be 1-0 Southampton with a Charlie Austin 89th minute goal. Header, corner.
Always the happy soul, aren't you, Danny? Always the happy soul.
I'm more positive about Peterborough than I am about
Yes, that's true. It's true. So tune in for fireworks, but I will wish you the very worst of luck, Ross, in advance.
Likewise.
No luck.
But thank you both very much for joining me this evening.
It's been a pleasure.
As always.
And I will speak to you both on Wednesday, and indeed I will speak to our listeners tomorrow evening. And as usual, I shall say the immortal words, keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy, and we will speak to you very soon.